it's Kristen here, and today I am doing the Unmasking the Horror 3-house tour. So we get to go behind the scenes, 3 of the Horror Nights houses. You know, they told me what houses they were when I booked it, but I don't remember them offhand, so I will update on that later. But we're gonna get to go into the houses during the day, see all the artistry, all the little details that they put into these houses. I am so excited. So yeah, let's go. We are not allowed to video in the houses, but the rest of this video will probably be a lot of my photos. I'm gonna tell you guys what's going on in them. So yeah, let's get to it. So for check-in this year, we headed over to the VIP area where you would check in for any sort of VIP tour. It was clearly marked, and inside they did such an amazing job decorating specifically for this tour. You could see the wisteria plants, which is what nod to the El Artista house. There's some cats in there as a nod to the Crooked Cat Lady scare zone. So many cute little details. You could see the portraits being hung. Absolutely adorable. Okay, so we just got in and they showed us to our table, and you get this adorable button, a lanyard to key, and then the listening device. So you'll hook that up, put it in your ear so you can hear the tour guide clearly. So after we got all of our goodies, we are heading off to our first house, which is Grave of the Flesh. And as you can see in these photos here, all the lights are turned on. Our tour guide is explaining to us all of the awesome things that just went into this first scene of the house. As you can see here, there is a green tent kind of over this area. And if you first look at it, you're thinking like, oh, it's, you know, they're just fixing something. But that's actually very precise, because the story behind this house is that you are dead and you are at your funeral and it's raining. So this tarp is covering your grave. And as you'll see, as we scroll through and you walk through, there is some water dripping here to make you look up so you see your tomb and it feels like it's raining on you. This was such a great little detail. The artists and the set designers put so much work into these houses, as you can see by some of these details. So our tour guide was telling us that every year the designers put an animal in each house. Last year it was snails. In previous years it's been frogs, just little things that they can put in there that they're difficult to spot, but just a little continuity between all of the houses. Well, this year it's lizards that they put in all of the houses. So this lizard here is right in the first scene, right as you go, you know, through the gates of the cemetery, and you could see him there. He's hiding right behind the vines. He's so cute. And there's some other ones in the other houses that we'll show you, but that was the one for this house, for Grave of the Flesh. This whole house talks about, or the vibe of this house is what happens after you die. And according to this house, basically you get eaten by a bunch of mole-like monsters. So here you are in this scene. It's kind of drizzling on your head a little bit. You look up and you see your tomb, very creepy. And then here is the inspiration for some of these creatures that are going to come out at you. This mole-looking creature. Again, the artist took inspiration from real life moles, so that was such a great little detail. And then you could see here some of these pods that the flesh-eating creatures hatch out of, and that's all part of the story. Some of the skulls of the other people that they've consumed underneath the earth. Very spooky stuff. This effect is super cool. They print basically vinyl sheeting, and they put it over this special type of plastic or glass. And so when you're looking straight on at it, you can see the skulls. But then when you shine light from behind it, you can see whatever or whoever in this case is standing behind it. So our tour guide is demonstrating that for us here. You can see it's just skulls, but then he shines the light and you can see him from behind. Definitely an awesome effect to use in some of these houses. And I know they definitely obviously use it here in Grave of the Flesh, but they also use it in some other houses this year at Horror Nights as well. And then we get into some more of the props here. You see the bones, you see some of the people that have been eaten by these creatures. Again, very spooky stuff. Also, you can see here they showed us some of these huge speakers that they use to pump in some of the noise, the screams, all of that eerie music. That's one of the big differences between Horror Nights and some of these other haunted house events you go to, is their use of audio and how they incorporate the audio into, every facet of these houses, from the scare actors to just the ambiance. It makes it such like a five senses experience. One of the interesting things that our tour guide was telling us is that in many of these houses, they don't put ceilings in. When you look up, you just see the scaffolding, because again, these houses are either in big tents or they are in sound stages. When they do add ceilings, it's a whole nother process of getting fire extinguishers put in, sprinklers put in, so everything is up to code, and that of course adds an expense. And our tour guide also said that many of these houses cost upwards of $800,000 per house. So that added expense of a ceiling and all of the fire code that goes into it, that adds even more. So it's crazy how expensive these houses are, all the details that go into them, and where they cut costs when it comes to ceilings, they certainly do that. Okay, so we just finished up at the Grave of Flesh house, and now we're headed to our second house of the tour. I'm so excited to see what it is. So we headed over to Doll's Let's Play Dead next. I personally love a creepy doll, so this house was super exciting for me to think about going into and getting to actually see the details. And you could see right off the back when we walk in, you are the size of a toy. Think Toy Story, but way creepier. So the story goes is you are a toy, you are in the attic of this little girl named Lila, and she is kind of like Toy Story, like Sid, where she enjoys, destroying her toys and making them suffer. So we're in the attic. You can see here there's a mouse trap, and the only thing left of that poor mouse or rat is the tail. You can see this Plastico dollhouse. The Plastico is a made-up company, and if you zoom in really, really close up there, you can see it says Plastico MT instead of TM, because it is a made-up company. Very, very creative there. And then also, if you look above the door, the address is 34. It's a nod to Halloween Horror Nights 34. This is the 34th year. So they got a little cute little Easter egg in there. And then as you kind of you start walking through this house, you can see that she has caused some serious damage to her toys. Some pins there going through it. She shaved all of their heads. This house has some buttons that you can press as the person walking through the house that will set off different things happening. So this one right here is this buzzer. You could see the red button. If you press that, it will actually make the floor vibrate underneath you. So that's a little known fact. Normally you cannot touch anything in these houses, but in Dolls Play Dead, you are encouraged to touch the red buttons when you see them. So we're continuing through this creepy, destroyed, almost plastic dollhouse. You could see Lila does not like this third cat. She's already X'd him out of the picture. You could see a little nod here to BuzzCon, which was the company in a house a couple years ago that had these, killer bugs going through them. And so that's a nod to that house from many years ago. The batteries are BuzzCon batteries. And if you, as you walk through, you see that she has tied up her dolls. She has turned them into weird kind of hanging sarcophaguses. It's very strange. And if you look at the bedding here and this little plastic doll bed, you can see it's Jack the Clown, who was an icon from years past of Halloween Horror Nights. So a little nod to him there as well. And then again, more destruction, just really kind of destroying her toys, making them suffer, it appears, tying them up, lots of marker all over them. Not great stuff. So we're continuing to go through this house. You see she's melted some of her dolls. She's cut their heads off. You could see here this big bed. It looks like we're about to walk under. You can see the headboard there and like the dust ruffle from the sheets. So that is now going to signify that we are going under her bed. And we're going to find all sorts of interesting stuff under there. You see this box from a toy. You see matches. She's burnt out holes. And then there you see the lizard. It's from, this year's animals that they place throughout the house. You could see this one. He's right there. He's hiding. He's very cute. And here we are under the bed. You can see she has matches. She has doll heads. She's taped up dolls with Band-Aids. You could see all of the dust under the bed. They made just piles of this really gross looking dust, but very realistic. So yeah, she's tied up all her dolls. She's lit fire some. You can see boxes, a baby cam box under there. They've made it very, very realistic. I guess what the underneath of a bed of kind of a crazy little girl would look like. And then you're kind of walking through and you're finding that she has used these batteries now to electrocute and burn some of her toys. So you can see it's plugged in. She's using batteries that are all leaking everywhere. You could see a squished bug over here. And at this point, the scare actor comes out and he electrocutes himself, I guess, to get away from the torture of this little girl. And then as you keep going through the house here, you see Pukey McCookie. And our tour guide told us that this was a little tiny bit of a nod to Major Sweets, which is a house from years past. You can see there's some candy there in his vomit, pretty gross. And then here's a Colonel Cannon. He's like a G.I. Joe type toy that she has, again, mutilated there and destroyed. And then as we find our way out of this house, we see this duck hanging with button eyes. And you will actually find this duck in another Halloween Horror Nights house this year. But I'm not going to tell you. I want you to tell me where else you have seen this duck this year at Halloween Horror Nights. And we are headed to our last house of the tour. This is Hatchet Chains, Demon Bounty Hunters. And the idea for this house actually came from the Slaughter Cinema 2 house from last year's Halloween Horror Nights. This was just a tiny little portion of that house. It was this, kind of spaghetti Western, as they explain it, portion when they're talking about all these different genres of film. And so they took this one and they turned it into a full-fledged house. And a spaghetti Western got the term because a lot of these old Westerns from back in the day, they were actually filmed in Italy. So they've become known as spaghetti Westerns. Interesting fact. So we are walking through this house. You could see that there is some destruction here. There's bodies in the well. There's a dead horse. Creepy stuff. And we're walking through here and we are getting inside the house. Now, the premise of this house is that this is like an old Western town and you are following Hatchet and Chains, and they are, you guessed it, demon bounty hunters. So they are looking for these demons that have infiltrated this old Western town. So the first thing you see when you enter this is like you're kind of almost in like a stable, and these papers here on the counter. One side of the list are all of the props departments and the artists, their names, the ones that have, created and put so many details in these houses. And then the second side of the list are all iconic characters from Horror Nights seasons past. So a nod to the old ways, the old things that they've done here. And then, of course, the amazing, brilliant, and talented artists that have done so much. But again, you're not going to notice that in the dark when you're waiting for a scare. So this is another great little thing that you see here on these tours, is these tiny little details that they've put into it. And then, you can see this blacklit demon. He's jumping out of the fireplace to come and get you. Would be a scare actor on the other side, kind of manipulating him to come in and out at you. Very spooky stuff. And now we're moving into this, deeper into the stable. You can see this horse has unfortunately been overcome by these demons. And the lore of the house is that these demons, these fiery demons will, take over your body, but in doing so, they melt your body. So they will either use metal to kind of hold your fleshy, melting self together, or then they just kind of need to hop into another host and leave your body kind of charred and gross. So that's more lore behind this house. So you can see that has happened to this poor horse here. Some more details here. You're in this Western town. You're kind of going through all of these different scenes. You see some of these charred remains here. And at this point now in this little graveyard scene, you're kind of walking up this ramp. And you could see as we're walking up, it's supposed to kind of signify now that there's going to be this, not earthquake, but kind of quake that will illuminate the ground underneath. So in these photos here, you'll see that during the night, during the actual showtime, underneath it'll kind of look like these embers are glowing. So it's like these demons are coming up from the ground and the ground is quaking and opening underneath you. It's a really, again, the attention to detail is crazy. And I'm not sure if you're doing these houses at night, if you're really picking up on all of these little details that they're sharing. It's pretty amazing. So we're still going through this house. You could see there's some hatchets that have been thrown in the wall. And again, more lore behind this house is that Hatchet, he is one of the bounty hunters and he throws hatchets, but his aim is terrible. So as you're walking through this house, you will see hatchets in the wall. You will see hatchets in skulls. He has no aim, and I guess he means well hunting all of these demons, but it doesn't translate very well. He does not do a great job. So this next scene, you're going to see this demon has this woman on the roof here, and she's wearing a blue dress. And take note, a little hidden detail in this house, a little sub-story, is that if you'll notice, the hem of her dress is actually ripped. So remember that. We're going to come back to that detail in a while. Her blue dress there, unfortunately, she's not made it, but her dress there is ripped. So keep that in the back of your mind for later. Another thing that's very noticeable in this scene is this little pedal here. That is one of the triggers that the scare actors will use to initiate some of the effects. So the fog or the audio, the lighting, something that, will go along with their performance. So they'll step on that, they'll hop out, and then there'll be some other thing that goes on there, if not more than one. So another, again, little detail. These are all through the houses. This one was just very, very noticeable in the light, so they pointed them out. So now we are continuing to move through this house. We are going into what looks like the cat house, and then we walk into what is going to be the train station. So in one of these, you'll see like a screen back here behind a clock. During the evening, during the performance, they will have a train being projected on that screen, so you'll know that you're coming into the train house. There's a ticket station. And then we get to this poor gentleman here. Like I mentioned before, Hatchet is not a great aim, so he is unfortunately just a regular human victim of this demon bounty hunter. And if you'll notice, around his neck, he is wearing a blue scarf. So this is the bottom of the dress that was torn from that other poor victim of the demon. And if you'll notice, he's writing a letter here to her. Her name is Abigail, and he's saying that he's going to leave town and make enough money to kind of buy her way out of the cat house. But unfortunately, it appears that neither of them have survived. But what a cute little subplot that they have in this story. And again, not something I think you'll realize if you are going through this at night and very distracted by all of the demons. So this house, unfortunately, we couldn't take photos of the lizard because he was located in a room where we were not allowed to take photos. In some of these houses, actually in all of the houses, if you're doing any of these tours, there's always a couple places where you're not allowed to take photos, whether it's for they don't want to kind of spoil the surprise or it's a licensing issue. So the lizard in this house, we couldn't take pictures of him, but he is there. So maybe you will spot him. He's not that hidden either in this house. So maybe you will spot him when you go through if you do, make sure you tell us in the comments where he is. Well, that is all for this year's 3-house Unmasking the Horror behind the scenes tour. It was, again, an amazing tour. I love a Universal Studios VIP behind the scenes tour. They always give you such amazing information. You're allowed to walk around backstage and see some things that normally you would not get to see as a guest. You get the backstory of these amazing houses, which you might not get if you're going through them at night and you're just kind of in that scary, spooky mood. So this is a fantastic, fantastic thing to add to your trip. If you're going to do Halloween Horror Nights. Pricing starts at $99 per person, and it varies by day. When you book, you do need to select a time. The 3-hour tour is about 2 to 2.5 hours, and the 6-house tour is a full day thing. It's actually about 6 hours. So you will do maybe 3 houses, you stop for lunch, and then you do another 3. So if you're going to do that one, be prepared. It is a whole day affair. This one was great. We did it right before we went to Halloween Horror Nights. We were able to finish up the tour and then kind of get right into the Horror Nights spooky season vibes, and it was fantastic. So thank you so much for watching and listening to this tour. If you have any questions about any of the Halloween Horror Nights tickets or any of their add-ons, please feel free to reach out. Our link is in the description below. We can book this tour for you. We can get your Horror Nights tickets for you. We can plan your entire Universal Studios vacation, and we would love to do so. Booking and planning your trip with us is 100% free. So take advantage of that service. Again, the description is, our link is linked in the description below. Thank you so much for listening. Remember to subscribe and like this video, and we'll see you again real soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.